Click. 300 people froze. The gun didn't fire. Big Sam stood there, finger on the trigger, staring at the back of Bumpy Johnson's head. The man he called brother. The man he just tried to kill for $50,000. Bumpy turned around slowly, looked Sam dead in the eyes, and said 5 words that would echo through Harlem forever. "I've been counting on you." September 12th, 1958, Lennox Lounge. What nobody in that room knew, what the history books won't tell you, is that Bumpy Johnson had seen this coming 3 weeks ago. And what he did in those 3 weeks didn't just save his life. It rewrote the rules of power in New York City. Here's what really happened. August 20th, 1958, 3 weeks earlier. Big Sam Foster walked out of his apartment on 132nd Street, 6'4", 260 pounds of muscle, Bumpy's bodyguard for 5 years, the most loyal man in Harlem, or so everyone thought. A black Cadillac pulled up, window rolled down. A man in an expensive suit smiled at him like an insurance salesman. Tony Marone, the 5 families collector, the man who didn't break bones. He found weaknesses. 5 minutes, Sam. Just hear me out. Sam should have walked away, should have called Bumpy right then. But curiosity is a killer. He got in the car. Tony didn't waste time. He opened a briefcase, stacks of $100 bills, $50,000, more money than Sam had seen in his entire life. Your daughter Kesha, 6 years old, tuberculosis. I know the treatments aren't working. I know the hospital bills are drowning you. I know Bumpy gave you $2,000, but it wasn't enough. It's never enough. Sam's jaw tightened. How did this stranger know about Kesha? How did he know about the sleepless nights, the breathing treatments, the charity ward where she was slowly dying? 1 bullet, Sam. 1 moment. Walk into Lennox Lounge on September 12th. Bumpy will be at his usual table. Friday night, same as always. You wait until he's distracted. 1 shot to the back of the head. Then you disappear. We have new identities ready. By morning, you're in Miami with enough money to save your daughter's life. And if I say no? Tony's smile faded. Then Kesha dies in that hospital bed. And you keep working for Bumpy, watching your back every single day, knowing a bullet with your name on it is coming eventually. That's how this life ends, Sam. You know it. The only question is whether you die poor or rich. Sam got out without saying a word, but the briefcase stayed on the seat. The money visible, tempting, burning into his mind. That night, Sam sat in his daughter's hospital room, watched her struggle to breathe. The nurses had stopped pretending the treatments were working. Kesha was dying, and he had the power to save her. 1 bullet for his daughter's life. 3 days later, he called Tony's number. "I'm in. Half the money now." Tony's laugh was soft. "Done." Welcome to the winning side, Sam. What Sam didn't know, what Tony didn't know. Bumpy Johnson already knew about that conversation, because 2 hours before Sam even saw that Cadillac, a parking attendant named Jerome had written down the license plate and brought it straight to Bumpy's office above Small's Paradise. "Tony Marone's car," Jerome said, sliding a piece of paper across the desk. "Parked outside Big Sam's place this morning. Saw Sam get in, stayed about 5 minutes, got out looking shook. Bumpy looked at the paper, then at Jerome. Handed him $500. You didn't see anything. You weren't there." "Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson." Bumpy sat alone for 2 hours after Jerome left, thinking. Sam had been with him through everything. Wars with Dutch Schultz's crew, police raids, his mother's funeral. Sam had taken 2 bullets meant for Bumpy. And now, the Italians were in his ear, offering him money, exploiting his daughter's illness. Most men would have made Sam disappear that night. 1 phone call, East River, problem solved. But that's what the 5 families wanted. Kill Sam, they'd find someone else. The cycle would never end. Bumpy understood something the Italians didn't. Fear works until someone stops being afraid. But shame, watching yourself destroy everything you believed in, that's a wound that never heals. A dead traitor becomes a martyr. A living traitor becomes a lesson. More than that, Bumpy needed to send a message, not just to the 5 families, to every soldier, every hustler, every man in Harlem who thought loyalty had a price tag. He needed them to see what happened when you chose money over brotherhood. needed them to watch it unfold in public. 300 witnesses who'd carry the story for decades. And there was something else, something Bumpy barely admitted to himself. He wanted to know, needed to know. Would Sam really do it? Would the man who'd called him brother, who'd bled for him, actually pull that trigger? Part of Bumpy hoped Sam would walk away at the last second, hoped 5 years of loyalty meant more than $50,000. But hope wasn't strategy. So Bumpy planned for the worst and prepared the lesson. He called a gunsmith in Brooklyn, a man named Victor who'd been modifying weapons for Bumpy for 15 years. "I need a gun that looks perfect, feels perfect, but doesn't work. No bullet, no firing pin strike, just a click." Victor delivered it in 3 days, a .38 special identical to Sam's service weapon, same weight, same balance, completely useless. 4 days before the hit, Bumpy sent Sam across town on a fake errand. While Sam was gone, Bumpy and Illinois Gordon entered his apartment, found the gun in a shoebox under the bed, swapped it. Sam never noticed the difference. Now came the hard part, waiting, letting Sam walk into that room, letting him pull the trigger, because if Bumpy confronted him before the attempt, Sam could deny everything. The Italians would find another traitor. The cycle would continue. No. Bumpy needed Sam to commit, needed him to pull that trigger in front of witnesses. Only then would the lesson be complete. September 12th, 1958, 11:47 p.m. Lennox Lounge was packed. Jazz music, 300 people drinking, making deals. Harlem's power moved in whispers and handshakes. Bumpy sat at his corner table with 2 city councilmen. Gray suit, fedora on the table, untouched glass of Hennessy. His back to the room, vulnerable. Anyone watching would think he had no idea. But Bumpy knew exactly where Sam was. He'd known since Sam walked through the door at 11:30, watched him in the mirror behind the bar, saw him order that whiskey, saw him not drink it, saw the way his hand kept moving to his jacket pocket, checking, making sure the gun was still there. Bumpy kept talking to the councilman about housing developments and zoning permits, kept his voice steady, kept his hands relaxed. But inside, a part of him was counting down, waiting to see if Sam would really do it. Big Sam stood at the bar, staring at the back of Bumpy's head, 20 feet away. The jazz band played, people laughed, nobody was paying attention. This was it. The moment that would save his daughter or damn his soul. Maybe both. He thought about the money. $25,000 already deposited in a bank account under a fake name. 25 more waiting after the job was done, enough to take Kesha to the best doctors in the country. Enough to give her a life. He thought about Bumpy, the man who'd given him a job when nobody else would, who'd trusted him, protected him, called him brother. Sam's hand trembled as it moved to his jacket. Do it now, before you lose your nerve, before you think too hard about what you're doing. 11:47. Sam made his move. He walked through the crowd, hand inside his jacket. Nobody noticed. Sam was always near Bumpy. His presence was normal, expected. He came up behind Bumpy's chair, 6 feet, 4 feet, 2 feet. He drew the weapon. The bartender saw it first. Eyes went wide. But before he could shout, Sam aimed at the back of Bumpy's head and pulled the trigger. Click. The firing pin hit nothing. The sound echoed in the suddenly silent room. The jazz band stopped mid-note. Conversations died mid-sentence. 300 people turned to look at Big Sam standing there with a useless gun in his trembling hand. And Bumpy Johnson sitting perfectly still, not even flinching. Bumpy took a slow sip of his cognac, set the glass down gently, then turned around in his chair. He looked at Sam, just looked at him. And in that look was something far worse than anger. It was disappointment. "I've been counting on you." 5 words. But they hit Sam harder than any bullet, because in that moment, Sam understood everything. Bumpy had known about Tony, known about the 50,000, known about the plan, all of it. And instead of killing him, instead of making him disappear, Bumpy had let him walk into this room, let him pull that trigger, let him destroy his own honor in front of the entire community. Sam's gun clattered to the floor. His legs gave out. He dropped to his knees. "God, Bumpy, I'm sorry. My daughter, I just wanted to save—" "I know about your daughter. Bumpy's voice was quiet, but it carried through the silent room. I've known for 6 months. You think I don't take care of my people? Bumpy reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope, dropped it on the table. Keisha's medical bills, paid in full this morning. There's also $5,000 in there for whatever else your family needs. Sam's eyes filled with tears. But why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know. Bumpy stood up. 5'9". But in that moment he seemed 10 feet tall. I needed to know if you'd choose their money over our brotherhood, if you'd choose $50,000 over loyalty. Now I know. The room was absolutely silent. 300 witnesses watching a lesson in power unfold. You're leaving Harlem tonight, Sam. Take your family. Disappear. I don't care where, but if I ever see your face again, if I ever hear your name again, there won't be a second chance. Understand? Sam nodded, tears streaming down his face. And Sam. Bumpy's voice dropped even lower. When the Italians ask what happened here tonight, you tell them exactly what you saw. You tell them Bumpy Johnson knew. You tell them he's always known. You tell them they can't buy loyalty in Harlem. And you tell them if they ever try this again, I won't be merciful. Sam stood on shaking legs, picked up his useless gun, walked out of Lennox Lounge into the Harlem night. He left New York before sunrise. The last anyone heard, he was working construction in Detroit, a broken man carrying the weight of his betrayal until the day he died. After Sam left, Bumpy turned to face the room. 300 people stared in silence. Let me make something clear. His voice carried to every corner. The Italians think they can buy us, think they can divide us, think they can take Harlem because we're poor, because we're black, because we don't matter. He picked up his cognac glass. They're wrong. Harlem isn't for sale. It never was. It never will be. And to anyone who thinks they can walk into my neighborhood and buy my people, they're going to learn what Big Sam just learned. He raised his glass. To Harlem. And to loyalty that can't be bought. 300 glasses raised. To Harlem. The jazz band started playing. Conversations resumed. Within minutes, it was as if nothing had happened. Except everything had happened. By morning, every mobster from Boston to Baltimore knew the story. Bumpy Johnson had known about the hit for 3 weeks, had let it play out, had made a traitor reveal himself in front of 300 witnesses without spilling a drop of blood. In Brooklyn, at a social club on Mulberry Street, Carlo Gambino sat with his underboss reading the morning report. One of his men had been at Lennox Lounge. Saw the whole thing. Gambino listened in silence. Then he did something unexpected. He laughed. That magnificent bastard. He didn't just survive an assassination, he turned it into theater. In the Bronx, Vito Genovese heard the news and threw a glass against the wall. We gave Tony Morone $50,000 and he couldn't kill one man? His consigliere spoke carefully. Boss, I don't think Tony failed. I think Bumpy was always going to win. He knew about it from the beginning. Then why didn't he just kill Sam? Because now every man in New York knows you can't buy Bumpy Johnson's people. That's worth more than one dead bodyguard. The 5 families called an emergency meeting. Frank Costello was furious at Tony Morone. But Carlo Gambino saw something else. We can't beat this man. Gambino lit a cigar. We've tried everything. Force didn't work. Money didn't work. We turned his own bodyguard and he was 3 moves ahead. Every move we make, he's already seen it coming. He's not just smart, he's smarter than all of us combined. So what do? Costello demanded. We leave Harlem alone, focus on Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx. Trying to take Harlem from Bumpy Johnson will only cost us more men and money and reputation, because right now, every soldier in New York is laughing at us. The room went silent. Nobody wanted to admit it. But Gambino was right. It was the first time the 5 families had ever backed down without a shot being fired. Not because they were weak, because they were smart enough to recognize when they'd been outplayed. The story became legend in Harlem. passed down through generations, told in barbershops and pool halls. Old-timers would tell young hustlers about the night Big Sam tried to kill Bumpy Johnson, and they'd always end it the same way. That's why you don't cross Bumpy. He don't just beat you. He teaches you why you were wrong to try. Years later, a young hustler named Frank Lucas would ask Bumpy about that night. "Mr. Johnson, people say you knew Sam was going to try to kill you. Why didn't you just make him disappear?" Bumpy looked at him. "Because then I would have lost something more valuable than my life. I would have lost the lesson." Every man in Harlem saw what happened to Sam, saw him destroy himself in front of 300 people, saw that betrayal doesn't pay. You can't buy that kind of education with violence. But what if the gun had worked? What if someone hadn't warned you? Then I would have died. But Sam still would have been caught, still would have been exposed, and the lesson would have been the same. You can't buy loyalty in Harlem. Frank Lucas never forgot that conversation. Years later, when he became a kingpin himself, he'd remember Bumpy's words. "Real power isn't about who you can kill. It's about who you can teach." Big Sam took $50,000 from the mob, but he never spent it. Every time he looked at that money, he saw Bumpy's face, heard those 5 words, "I've been counting on you." He saved Kesha with Bumpy's $5,000, the medical bills Bumpy paid, the money Bumpy gave him even after he tried to kill him. That's what saved his daughter, not the mob's blood money, and Sam lived knowing it. In Detroit, Sam worked construction, lived in a small apartment, kept his head down. Every year on September 12th, he'd sit alone and remember that night, remember the click of an empty gun, remember Bumpy's eyes, remember the worst moment of his life. His daughter grew up, got married, had children of her own, never knew how close she'd come to dying, never knew what her father had almost done to save her. Sam carried that secret to his grave. On his deathbed in 1982, Sam's last words were an apology to a man who'd been dead for 14 years. "I'm sorry, Bumpy. I'm sorry, brother." His daughter asked who he was talking to. Sam just closed his eyes. Some debts you can never repay, some lessons you never forget. Bumpy Johnson went back to his corner table that night, finished his cognac, remained the king of Harlem. 10 years later, in 1968, Bumpy died of a heart attack at the same Lennox Lounge where he'd faced down Big Sam. Thousands attended his funeral, families he'd helped, children whose rent he'd paid, businesses he'd protected, but the lesson he taught that September night lived on. Because sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a gun. It's knowing your enemy's move before they make it. It's turning betrayal into victory. It's proving that loyalty isn't for sale. That's the real story of Big Sam's betrayal. Not just what happened, but what it meant.